Okay, we are now recording. Um, Welcome everyone. My name's Bob Geyer. I'm a volunteer with Vista Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired. I generally work out of the Santa Cruz branch. I'll be your Zoom video host for today. I would like to let you know about next month's Tech It Out with Vista presentation. That's going to be on August 6th. We will have Robert Felger from Raz Mobile, and he will be joining us to talk about their Mini Vision 2 cell phone. That's kind of a large button, tactile button, kind of a cross between an old flip phone and a smartphone. So he'll be here on August 6th. Then on September 3rd, we will have Mike May from Good Maps to talk about the Explorer app. Then on October 1st, we will have a presentation about the WeWalk cane. Then in November, we'll have our own Brian Burrow to talk with us about the various navigation apps and his take on the advantages and disadvantages of each of the apps. And then for December, so on December 1st and 2nd, we will have Vista's second annual Site Tech Global Conference instead of our normal Tech It Out with Vista. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce today's guests. We have Matt Volbrecht. He's the founder of the Tech Juggernaut. And we have Rita Howells. She's one of the TTJ team top trainers, along with Cliff. And Cliff, is it Miller? I think it's Cliff Miller.
Yes.
He also is a tech trainer. I didn't know he was joining us. I didn't put him in my show notes here.
It's okay.
So he'll be joining us. So welcome to the three of you. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today and to share with us a little bit about yourselves and the training opportunities that you have for all of us. So without any further ado, please go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We really certainly appreciate the invitation. And my Zoom app decided to do some funny things there. There we go. All right. So anyway, we are very grateful for the invite. We're glad to be here, and we're very excited to share with you what's been going on with TTJ, with our team. I am Matt Volbrecht. Thank you again, Bob, for the intro. What I thought made sense here is, since it appears that you do kind of want to hear, and we are slated to talk about the training opportunities that we do offer, what I thought made sense was to give you a chance to get to know the team a little bit first. And so I'd like to ask if Cliff and Rita, in either order, I don't care, would introduce themselves briefly, just like we normally do when we do these classes, and then I'll go last and I'll introduce myself, and I'll segue then from that to sort of how I got started in this business and why, and then we'll talk about what we're doing and hopefully what it means to all of you. So Cliff or Rita, either one of you want to start with a bit of an introduction there, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I guess I'll go. Yeah, I'm not sure. Is Cliff able to talk today? Sometimes
he is able to talk.
Okay, so I guess I'll start.
Sure.
Let's see. Let me get a background here. My name's Rita Howells, and I was a rehabilitation counselor for the blind, and then I got stupid and became an administrator for blind services, and I worked for rehab in the state of Illinois for 33 years. I'm blind myself, and I have just been fascinated with iPhones and Apple iOS devices. And I got my first iPhone in 2011. And it has been an amazing journey. You know how they say Apple, we talk about everything iPad, iPhone, iPad. And my husband Tony says that he's changing his name to Tony because then he'll get more time with his wife. So it's been quite a journey, and these Apple iOS devices have been life changing. And when I retired, I was looking for something to do, so I started just training individuals who I would meet with them in person, and we would do hand over hand instruction for their iOS device. And sometimes I would go to the Apple store with people, and that was a lot of fun because I could spend their money and buy a device, and we could set it up right there at the store. Or I would make a do list for people to go to the Apple store to get their device set up and get it running and voiceover on and so forth. And so it's been amazing. And the more I learn, the blind community, we're one big, happy and or dysfunctional family. We're all connected. And the more we support each other to learn how to use these devices, the more independent we can be. And with more independence comes self-esteem, comes freedom. And these devices, again, they are life-changing. So I individually was starting this curriculum and training people, and I joined some listservs. And there was a listserv that a friend of mine started in Missouri called the iDevices listserv, and it's a listserv that you join, and it's for people to support each other who use Apple iOS devices. And there were several trainers on the list. And my friend Denny asked me to co-host with him this iDevices listserv, and it's a mail listserv that you sign up for. And the subscription for that listserv is, let me get this right, iDevices plus subscribe at groups.io. So it's iDevices, the plus sign, subscribe at groups.io. And we've got over 500 people now on this list that share with each other. Somebody will say, how do I turn the screen curtain on my phone? And somebody will respond. It's just an amazing support system. And Matt also and Cliff have a listserv several listservs that they support. And so as we started talking, Matt contacted me and wanted to know if I'd be interested in helping to do some training with some people. And then this idea of these classes got started. And we've been operating now for, I think, 3 years, 4 almost. And every year it grows exponentially. And in this last courses that we offered, this is all free, the stuff that is offered, and we are all volunteers. Nobody's being paid. It's really a work of love that we're all dedicating so much time. In the voiceover class that we had over 152 people sign up. And the Mac class, we had 79, 80 sign up. In the iPad class, 120 some signed up. And so it's been an amazing journey to share this information. And again, I believe in flooding people with information so they can make better choices about how to use their Apple iOS devices and how to increase their independence. And when you show somebody, okay, this is how you look up and you can find a recipe. Okay, this is how you copy text. Okay, this is how you can, oh my God, do a million things. So it's contagious, this excitement. And so I've joined this team. I call myself a backup singer to the main person who coordinates this, which is Matt. And so with the TTJ team, we like to funnel everybody who's interested in the classes that we offer and the support, the help sessions and so forth. We like to funnel everybody through Matt's blog at ttjtech.net. And again, Matt will reiterate this, but it's ttjtech.net. And then you sign up to follow the blog by email. You'll get an email, you respond to the email, and you're in. And so that's where we post all the notices, all the things we're doing, all the updates. It's kind of like all roads go to ttjtech.net.
Rita, this is Bob.
So
Let me just say for the three of you, if you would email me all of the different links that you're talking about, I'll include all of those in the show notes so people don't have to worry about trying to write all that down. I'll just include them in the show notes if you send them to me.
that's fine. That'll be great. So that's kind of how it's all evolved. It really has a group that has come together with these expertise to help support the blind community. And then we're seeing those people that we're teaching helping to support other people. And it's like a ripple, in the water that spreads out, and other people are now helping other people. And when we hear these success stories about somebody creating a note, or being able to set an alarm, or being able to, oh my God, do a million things, okay, then that is contagious, because it shares this freedom, this independence that we can gain through using Apple iOS devices. So we are pretty much tied to the Apple world because of their out of the box accessibility, and their commitment to accessibility integrated into all of their devices. So that's my story. Cliff?
I started using Apple products back in 2010. My first device was an iPhone. Then I got a Mac. I sold every PC I had and put myself in front of that Mac for probably 5 years. Back then, there wasn't listservs. There wasn't Apple accessibility as you know it now. So I was self-taught from the ground up with my iPhone, with my Mac.
Bob,
And I've
we
always said
can't
that
hear him speaking.
Can you hold your questions until afterwards, please?
can you guys hear me just fine?
I can hear you
Yes.
just fine. Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I'm self-taught. I didn't have a trainer like Matt. I didn't have Apple accessibility. I didn't have books like the National Braille Press releases a new book every year for certain products. The iPhone, I think they have one for Mac now too. But I'm all self-taught. So I know that experience is the best teacher, but that's where my inspiration comes from, because I don't want new Apple users to have to scratch and crawl and wonder where they can dig and get this information from. So when me and Matt met, he can tell you that story. But when we met and he knew that I kind of had my hand in the Apple world already and was very sufficient at learning and doing things, that's where I came onto the team, because what me always joked that what he doesn't know, I know, and what I don't know, he knows. So we kind of went together like peanut butter and jelly. I there's probably an Apple device. There's probably not an Apple device that I don't have in my house, except for the Mac Pro, which is a very expensive high-end Mac that most probably video movie like Sony and Paramount and companies like that own. But other than that, I have everything from an Apple Watch, HomePod, iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, Mac. My wife has a MacBook Air. All my kids have iPhones, so um, it just goes hand in hand. So 10 years plus of experience. I learned a lot. I'm still learning. I don't know it all. I always say that I'm, still a kid in the candy store, because when a new iOS comes out or a new Mac OS comes out, I'm learning new things. Right now I'm studying for my Apple Certified Support Professional license or degree, however they put it, so I can work for Apple in the Apple Care or Apple support area, depending on what doors open for that. And Matt's also granted those opportunities because coming on board with him has gotten my name out there, and I've been reached out from individuals to get private one-on-one training and to do seminars like this. Also, I have one that I do once a month, and Bob, I'll send you that information, but it's called Mac by the Bit. It's all about Mac, learning it from the ground up, because the consensus for people that come from the PC world think the Mac is hard, it's too complicated, and there's no way to learn it. Well, that might be true if you're trying to learn it in one day or even a week. I wasn't comfortable, like I just told you, with my Mac by myself, totally confident until I was learning and teaching it for 5 years. 5 years. I've been using Apple products for 10. So 5 years ago is when I felt confident enough to use my Mac on my own without having to ask questions and think I'm going to mess something up. So again, my inspiration comes from what I went through in those 5 years. I don't want new people putting their hands on Apple devices to go through. So my motivation is giving back to the world that gave to me.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. Don't we have a great team here already, guys? I mean, I know you're going to be blessed by this, and that was just fantastic. So I'll share with you a little bit about my story here very quickly as well. I've always been very much into technology ever since I was a kid, having been blind since the age of 3. Of course, I learned Braille. I learned Braille at a very young age, but I really always gravitated towards the tech side of things. Even if it was originally the stuff like, Braille Mate, Braille and Speak, those kinds of devices, I still enjoyed them, and got my first, I guess really my second, but the one that was really memorable, laptop when I was about 12 years old. It was an IBM ThinkPad at the time, and I was just really enamored with it, and began learning everything that I could about it. And it was only about a year or two later when my mom and I began sort of traveling around our local area doing computer work for people. She was at the time a technology coordinator for a school district, so people already were aware that she knew a lot about technology. And what would happen is people would call and they would say, my computer has, a virus. It has some problem that, we were just learning about terms like spyware and malware at the time. They may not have known those terms, but they knew something was wrong. Their computer was running slowly. They're, getting error messages. Things aren't working, And basically, my mom and I would travel to their homes or their businesses, and we would, we established a policy very early on that we were not going to try to sort of fix the cracks. We were going to rebuild it from the ground up, because with Windows, we found that it was very difficult if you tried to just remove things and clean things up. So we decided to market ourselves as, we're going to reformat your hard drive and start from scratch. And that's what we did. And people were always very pleased with that. And I had actually come up with a business name. We marketed under the name CompuClean for a time. And we did that for several years. And excuse me, even after I was in college, I was still continuing to do that. And sometimes I'd do it with my mom. We were kind of the dynamic duo. She would do, if somebody needed to know how to make a PowerPoint presentation or create a Word document, she'd do the sort of design principles of things. And I would do the operating system stuff, driver installations and registry stuff and all those kinds of things that you had to do. And basically, this continued on. I had actually majored in music education and then decided that was not the route that I wanted to go. I am a believer in Christ, and I really felt God leading me into 2 areas as far as a career. One, not really being a career, but a calling, I would say, and that being ministry. And the other one being technology. And I really felt there was a place for me in technology, and continued to pursue that in a number of ways. Well, in 2009, I got to have my first Apple product. I was never a fan of Windows. From day one, I didn't like it, but it was what I believed was the only real option at the time, because that's what was drilled into you, number one. And it was drilled into you by the state system, and it was drilled into you by a lot of business professionals. You know, the state system saying, well, you're blind. The only thing you're going to use is JAWS. Simple as that. You can try Window Eyes if you want. You're probably going to go back to JAWS, but it's going to be, you know, one of those two. So you got to have Windows. And the business pros saying, you know, if you want to do anything serious with computers, you need a PC, not a Mac. So we were being fed those lies. I mean, told that information, excuse me. And we kind of believed it, you know. And so while I didn't like Windows, I thought it was the only option. And I began hearing about the fact that Apple had this built-in screen reader on their Macintosh systems. Well, right away, when I heard built-in screen reader, you know, I immediately thought narrator. And I thought, yeah, you know, subpar, just get it set up and then you're not going to be able to really do anything meaningful. So I didn't actively pursue it. And then I'd hear people saying, no, you know, that's wrong. That's not the case. It's not like narrator. It's a whole different world. You ought to try it someday. And I really began thinking about it, because in 2008, I had bought this really high-end PC. I was still an IBM guy, but they weren't IBM anymore. They sold their PC business to Lenovo. And I had bought this Lenovo, and I had spent top dollar configuring this thing, getting everything I wanted, you know, high-end audio system. You could even overclock the processor on this thing. I mean, it was a crazy system. And I still, even with all of that, was in the same place as I really didn't want to be, which was, you know, having to deal with disk defragmentation and DLL files and driver incompatibilities and all of these same things that just drove me crazy about the other systems in the first place. And so when I had gotten a job with our state system as a Braille proofreader and a technology person working remotely, they had said to me, you can have a Dell or you can have a Mac. And I said, well, I already have a PC. Let's try a Mac. And so I got their aluminum MacBook, which was the predecessor to the MacBook Pro as we know it. And when I got that machine, I made a decision, because by this point in time, I had heard people say, you know, look, I have a Mac and I haven't had to restart it in 3 months. You know, I haven't had an error. I haven't had a problem. When you update your Mac OS, it was, you know, OS 10 at the time, you know, all your drivers update with it. All your apps just work, you know. So I already was kind of sold before I ever even had my hands on it. So I had the attitude going in, one that was very positive, one that was, I am going to learn this. And so what I decided to do when I got this MacBook was to put my Lenovo laptop, stick it in a drawer somewhere, and just pretend like the Lenovo desktop that I told you about didn't even exist, and force myself to do everything on the Mac. Now, as Cliff said a little bit ago, we didn't have the same training resources back then that you have now. So we were figuring out a lot of these things. But there was one resource that I contacted 2 or 3 times with quick questions, but basically we were learning on our own. What I realized immediately, without more than a moment spent on the Mac, was that I just absolutely loved the experience. I knew it was going to be a learning curve. I knew there were going to be things that were done differently, but I knew that I would do whatever I had to do to be a part of it. It was a completely different, a completely revolutionary experience in the sense that you had this accessibility right out of the box. You could use VoiceOver to set up your Mac and even to reformat it and set it up again if you had to, which you almost never have to do anyway. You didn't have these problems. You didn't have these incompatibilities. And furthermore, a lot more apps were working on the Mac with VoiceOver than worked on Windows. Just to give you a couple quick examples, I was using at the time, my family was using, I really wasn't, a recipe organizer app for Windows. And also we loved the World Book Encyclopedia in our house at that time. And my son was very young, just about 2 years old, but I figured he'd enjoy it. Well, both of those apps were completely inaccessible in Windows. And I figured the same would be true for the Mac. but actually the exact opposite was true. The recipe organizer I got was fully accessible. World Book even had a whole section on how to best navigate with VoiceOver and World Book. So it was just a whole different world. I got an iPod Nano when that became available with, they didn't call it VoiceOver, they called it spoken labels or something like that. And then I did get my first VoiceOver device that we would know as an iOS device today, which was the iPhone 3GS, also in 2009. And that just took things to a whole different level. It really did. It completely, once again, changed everything. Same thing with the iPad in 2010, the Apple TV, you know, all of these devices as they were released, each of them revolutionized something, a lot of times without even getting credit for doing so. So fast forward a few years, I totally rebranded my business and decided to abandon the PC platform altogether and to pursue Apple. And I would still do training and I would still do support. But I got a certification first as an Apple certified associate in Mac OS, and continued to offer now Apple services. The final piece of this puzzle, which brings me to where I got to work with the TTJ, you know, put together the TTJ team and start sort of the phase that we're in now, occurred in over a period of a couple of years, starting in about 2015, when somebody had said to me, have you ever considered joining an email list, you know, that does like listserv kind of support where people email questions and you can help answer them if you know the answers? So I said, no, I really had never thought of that. But, you know, I'll look into it. So at that time, I had been recommended this list called Peel the Apple. And I joined this list and I was, you know, reading these questions, and a question came up that was a rather complex question. And I decided to answer it a little bit, but I said, you know, if you really need more help than this, because I said, I don't know how much we can give you on the list with, you know, as difficult of a question as it is. I said, maybe, you know, contact me because I offer paid training and I'd be happy to, you know, set you up and figure out a pricing and we can, you know, get your problem solved. And I get a response from this guy by the name of Cliff. And he doesn't even spell his name like a normal Cliff. So right away, you know, and he says, you can't do that. He says, we don't advertise paid services on this list, you know. And we had a little exchange back and forth about that. And I, you know, fine, if he doesn't want me to advertise, he's the boss of the list, you know, we'll take it off there. But, you know, that was sort of the introduction to our relationship. And we laugh about it now because a few weeks later, Apple released their Apple TV. And I had decided to offer a conference. At that time, we were still using conference calling services. And I decided to offer a conference call about the new Apple TV and all the features. And at the time, we had a low number of participants that you could have, like 40 or something. And so I asked everybody to email me if you wanted to participate in the conference, and I would give you the call-in number and so on. And all of a sudden, Cliff emails and says he'd like to participate. And he was asking questions. And I never talked to this person one-on-one yet, you know, and you can't always tell somebody's tone from an email. And so I'm thinking, man, this guy is just here to point out everything that I'm doing wrong. And that's all there's going to be to it. What in the world is he going to say, you know? And it turns out that, yeah, he actually does like to point out everything I do wrong.
He does.
But all in all, it's all in good fun. And it turns out this is a fantastic gentleman. He's a brother in Christ. And we really just hit it off. It was a completely different experience than I was expecting, and in a good way. And that's how we became friends and sort of colleagues, because we began, you know, hosting these conferences for each other. I asked him to host one when I was going to be late, and, you know, just sort of spun from there. And then I joined the iDevices list, and I got to see the awesome work that Rita was doing each week, writing these iDevice articles. And I had given her a call one day. I said, I'm really impressed that you do that. I think it's great, you know, the service that you're offering to the community, because they're not aware of a lot of these things. Well, in the spring of 2018, March of 2018, March 27th to be exact, because it was a real big day in my life in retrospect. Apple held an education focused event in Chicago, which is not a usual place for them. And they were introducing a lot of new apps or a lot of new features in their apps, apps like GarageBand and Pages and so forth. But they were also introducing what would become known as the 6th generation iPad. I didn't even watch the conference live, which was rare for me. I usually do, but I had something else going on. And I watched it later. I had only a passing interest in the 6th generation iPad when I read about it, because I had an iPad that I was happy with until I saw the presentation. I saw what Apple had done with the 6th generation iPad, the features, the price, everything, and all these other apps that they were enhancing and overhauling, And I made the statement at the time, and I'm pretty sure I said it to Cliff right off the bat. I said, Apple has completely revolutionized something once again, and they're probably not even going to get credit for it, because it's just, in people's minds, it's just another update to the iPad. But when you look at what they were doing, they were making this powerhouse available to a whole new group of people, in parents, students, teachers, educators, and small businesses, and they were also doing it in such a way with these apps that they were enhancing, that it was now entirely possible to use an iPad as a full-time computer for most people. And I really felt like that was the earthly catalyst that God was using to say to me, you ought to offer a class on this and make it free, because you want to reach as many people as you possibly can, because they don't know. They haven't been taught. They still think they need a Windows computer, and they still think they need all this expensive assistive technology and all these other things, when really they could do this stuff with their iPad as long as they're properly trained. And so I felt from the beginning, these classes needed to be, free. We're still going to offer paid training for those people that need to go beyond the framework of what we can offer in the free classes, but we really want to give people as much information as we can in these free classes, because the iPad and the Apple products in general have completely revolutionized the way that we work, play, design, create, communicate, and learn and express ourselves. And I said, a colleague of mine once said, when it comes to not only folks who are blind, but really anybody, nothing is more meaningful or more fun than finding out that you can do something independently that you previously couldn't. And that's happening on a daily basis with these Apple products. I mean, we can manage our own payments in stores and online, and then manage our credit card bills, with Apple Wallet and Apple Card. We can manage recipes and grocery lists. We can get, turn by turn walking directions that are actually meaningful, provided that we either are with a sighted assistant or that we have, the guide dog or the cane or those kinds of things. But we can use these things like never before. We can create professional looking documents and multimedia presentations and even movies. I mean, we can take photos. They're not always going to maybe necessarily look as good as Annie Leibovitz photos, but we can take photos and videos as a person who's blind. We can do all of these things and so many more because of the technology, the commitment by Apple to accessibility, and it truly is empowering, and it's no exaggeration to say that it's life-changing. And so it was at that point that I decided, yep, let's do this. I really, as I said, believer in Christ, and that was the first thing. And then my family, my wife and I have 2 kids, a son and a daughter, and I shared with them. I said, this is what God's leading, and I really think we ought to do this. And so we offered a course in the spring of 2018 called Replacing Your Traditional Computer with an iPad. And it really was a sort of a pilot program, because I said at the time, I had in my own mind, just in the flesh, I had this thought, if we get at least 10 people signed up to take this, then I will consider that a success and we'll go with it. If we get less than 10 people, then I'll just have to make them take individual training, you know? Well, in that first class, within a matter of 3 or 4 days, we had 47 students signed up for that first iPad course. I had asked Cliff if he would assist with that. And not long after, we asked Rita, and we had our first iPad class. We learned a lot that year, and it's and Rita's laughing because she can think of specific examples, but it's always, you know, every year, every class, every student is a learning opportunity for us as well, and we definitely never pretend that we know it all. We're always works in progress in more ways than one. I certainly don't know it all, but as long as I know just a little bit more than Cliff, then I'm happy. No, I'm kidding. But
No, you're
we
not.
did. We learned a lot that
Yeah,
year.
we did. We really did, because
yeah.
I mean, like you said, 47 people. We thought that they were going to come in knowing voiceover, and then that's how the rest of our courses became.
Right. It is because and I'll never forget the moment, the light bulb moment for me. I don't know if it was the same moment for you guys, but the moment for me was, you know, we had created a fairly advanced course on the iPad, not as advanced as what we're doing now, but it was fairly advanced. And my goal with it was, again, this kind of education focused, you know, teachers, students, parents are going to take this course. And what we had was, you know, we're trying to teach people, I think it was like how to use notes, for example. And somebody said to me, well, how do you do that with voiceover? And I said, well, it's in the rotor. And the response was, what's the rotor? And, you know, after I picked my jaw up off the floor, I realized, you know, this is not going to work in this format because we can't teach voiceover at the same time as we teach these apps. You know, you have to be successful if you're going to be a voiceover user. If you're visually impaired, if you're, you know, whatever you want to call it, you have to learn voiceover first. You've got to get the fundamentals down before you can delve into making movies and creating notes and doing all these other things, you know, and that was missing. So that summer we talked to them, we said, if we do this again, and it was still up in the air at that point, but we said, if we do this again, let's offer a voiceover course separate from the iPad course. And let's make one contingent upon the other. If you're going to take the voiceover course, fine. But if you're going to take the iPad course, you need to already have either completed the voiceover course or have that level of knowledge. And so, you know, the rest, as they say, is history. We've been offering these courses, and I'm going to let Rita and Cliff talk in a moment about, you know, their reflections on this stuff, and then we'll, you know, talk about some of the opportunities. But we've kind of gotten into a pattern now, you know, where we have a training season that coincides with the school year, because both trainer Cliff and I have, as I said, families and, you know, kids and everything. And so we like to be free when our kids are home from school. So we do basically a fall and spring training season. And we really were making a lot of headway with that. And then 2020 happened. And when all of these shutdowns began occurring, I began saying, yeah, how can we help in this? How can we make a difference and go even a step further? And what I felt very strongly was, you know, the Apple stores are closed. I mean, no, they're not anymore, but they were in 2020. The Apple stores are closed. You can't go into an Apple store right now and get help. You can't go into a Best Buy and get Geek Squad help. You know, you can call Apple, and that's fantastic. But what I quickly realized was that because you couldn't go in, these Apple Care support agents were being taxed to the point that you would call and there'd be a 45-minute to an hour wait time to speak to somebody. And I said, you know, we never are going to be able to replace what Apple offers, and we never want to try because they do a great job. But maybe we can supplement it somehow and provide something extra. And that's when we started offering, for those of you who have been with us, our free virtual help sessions. And we said, we're going to offer once or twice a week, just depending. We're going to offer a time when you can come in and you can sort of get your questions answered just like you would go into a store. That would be your appointment. You'll have a period of time when it's all you and all your questions. And it's interesting because even that took a different form than I had thought it would at the beginning. And the other trainers can tell you, because I talk about it every time we have a meeting. It's very different in the sense, it's not bad, but it's funny to me, because what it ends up being, I thought people would come in, they'd leave, they'd come back if they had questions, people would come in different times. What ends up happening is the people love it so much. They find it such a blessing because they learn from other people too. And so they'll sit for 2 hours in a session and they'll listen to everybody's question. And if they're, we do it alphabetically. If their name happens to start with W, they'll sit A through W and they'll listen to everybody else's questions in complete silence, or they'll take notes, but they just want this information so badly, and they find it meaningful that they can learn not only from our team, but from the other students and from the questions that the other folks have. So as of this year, our 2020/21 training season, we had as much as 150 students plus in some of our classes. And what we offer, guys, we had, the two big courses we offered, of course, were, we haven't, and I'll tell you this ahead of time, we haven't announced our training courses and offerings for this fall yet. That will come. We'll tell you how to find out all about that. But this past year, we offered several things. We introduced something brand new. My daughter wants to say it.
The month with the Mac.
That's right. We offered a month with the Mac. And Cliff officially loves you now, Kylie, because you gave him. But that we did. We offered the very first Mac course that we ever had. Of course, our iPad and our voiceover course. And then we offered a lot of mini courses on things like Apple TV and Apple Watch and HomePod and different things. So Cliff and Rita, what are your thoughts and your reflections as we, discuss all of this?
I think just, from a bird's eye view, it's an incredible, synchronicity that has brought us all together, these volunteers. There's Cliff, me, Stephanie, Lynn, Sarah, all helping each other and helping the students. And I was saying to Matt, I was like, do you realize I'm working for you 5 days a week for free? Because we were doing classes 2 days a week, and then we were doing help sessions 2 days a week, and then we were doing another call with the ACB organization. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am working harder than when I was working. But what we find consistently, now just to, again, bird's eye view here, the TTJ team, this group of volunteers, and again, I consider Matt and Cliff the foremost leaders. We are offering free courses through a variety of formats for blind or anyone, who wants to sign up for this information to learn about how to use your Apple iOS device and your Mac. And those are free. Okay, the help sessions are free. The courses are free. There's a process for signing up for those courses, and we'll be talking about that in a second. If somebody needs individualized training for something that's more advanced, Matt and Cliff do offer paid training, and you work with them individually. Okay, and I occasionally have done paid training for something very specific for individuals, but we give away a tremendous amount of hours. Like just the voiceover class was 12 weeks long, 2-hour sessions twice a week. So that was 4 hours a week times 12 weeks, 48 hours of training we offered. And if you had to pay for that, I mean, oh my God, anywhere from, rehab would charge anywhere from $60 to $300 an hour. Okay. Depending on, what's going on with the training. And the training that has, quite frankly, I'm being very honest here, the training curriculum that we have developed with these courses is far advanced to any rehab institute. Like Matt in the voiceover class, one of the very first lessons, he was orienting people to the home screen, talking about, how to move from page to page, how to open your mail, and I'm like, oh my God, that's one lesson. That would be a month-long training session at a rehab institute, okay? Because traditionally, custodial rehabilitation facilities think that blind people just need the very basics, and they don't know enough about their devices to even teach them. And we are doing extremely advanced training, and consistently we are finding that blind people who are very highly motivated, they've not had this kind of resource available to them, taught by other blind people who know what they're doing. And so people have evolved with kind of a scattershot approach. Like somebody can do something very advanced on their iPhone, but yet they don't know how to use the vertical scroll bar, or they don't know how to navigate to the bottom of a document, or they don't know how to turn a page, or they don't know how, some simple things. And we feel that people need to learn voiceover from the ground up. Okay. And so there's so many things that you can do, but you've got to master voiceover in order to do these things independently yourself. And so we've come up with a quiz to see people's knowledge. And Bob, I'll be happy to share that with you if you want to distribute it to your people, the quiz, and it's got the answers after it. Because people really need a foundation, because we'll find somebody's trying to do something and they don't know how to turn the rotor, like Matt was saying. They don't know how to switch between apps. They don't know how to do something very basic, that they needed to learn those basic skills, and then they can move on to these advanced things about doing their checking online, or paying bills, or using a credit card online, monitoring your money. Oh my God, there's so many resources. And so that's why we start with this introduction to voiceover, and even advanced voiceover users could benefit from this free resource that we've come together to offer to people. So I would fully encourage you to do this, because it truly is a labor of love of all these volunteers who are coming together to bring this to people, to help people be more independent so they can go out and teach other blind people.
Yeah, and I want to speak to something that you said, Rita, that is a real a real big thing for me, which is, you mentioned that the level of the curriculum, and I'm so excited to see another team member here. Sarah just joined. How you doing, Sarah? You're probably muted right now, but Sarah's the newest member of our team. We absolutely love her energy and her personality and everything that she brings to the team. Anyway, I want to speak to something that Rita said, because it's so important to me, and that is the level of the curriculum that we offered. Before I had ever really gotten serious about doing this and felt led to do it, I had done a Google search one time to see what was out there. And I found a training package that was offered for pay, specifically designed for the blind. I won't tell you what company was offering that training, because I don't want to deliberately disparage anybody. But I was extremely shocked as to how little you learned in that package. It was designed for the iPhone, and yeah, you learned the basics, phone calls and messages, and probably the majority of the basic apps on there, but you didn't go beyond that. And to me, it is so important that we understand that, whether it's keeping our grocery list, whether it's making music in GarageBand, making movies, creating professional documents. Even today, I saw on a list that someone felt there was nothing useful about pages on an iOS device. I don't know, Cliff, if you happen to see that message as well. And I didn't respond to it yet, because it really wasn't the nature of the conversation. I don't know if I'm going to respond. I'll see what God leads there, because I don't want to say something I shouldn't say. But the reality of it is that's just totally false information, and it's based upon improper training. All right. It's based upon not knowing how to do this, not being taught that you can do it. And when we realize that we can do something, the whole thing changes to now, how do we do this? How do we accomplish this? And so that has always been with our curriculum, has always been the goal with me is to take people as far as we possibly can take them, not because we expect they're going to need all of it, but because we want to show them what the possibilities are so that you have the freedom. In this case, that information equals freedom because now you can decide for yourself. There may be some people who still decide, to use a Mac or PC or do things in this way or that. That's fine. But at least now you are armed with the knowledge. At least now you're not making a decision out of default as this is the only way that I can do this, so I'm stuck with it. Now you have options, you have choices, and you have the knowledge and the freedom to make those choices. So that's why our curriculum has been structured the way that it is, and the reason that we're so passionate and so adamant about that. Cliff, did you have any reflections that you want to share? And Sarah is here as well. I don't know if she has anything she'd like to contribute. If you do, Sarah, just put your hand up, and then we'll get Bob or somebody to unmute you if you would, because you are definitely part of the team. So we want to give you that chance. But Cliff,
you and Rita pretty much covered it. I just wanted to mention, because I don't know how bad the time restraints are, that it is after 2 o'clock.
Yes, exactly.
1:12, so it's 30 minutes left. So if we want to go into letting them know how to do I know we know the blog is basically all roads, because we haven't put any dates on the seminar and stuff like that yet. But I'm pretty sure there's some new people out here that we haven't talked to that we might want to get some questions from.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's give them an overview, and then we'll go to questions. So guys, the way that the training works, it is entirely online, and there will always be free offerings as long as God leads us to do that. And so we have this training season that I mentioned to you, fall and spring. Every summer, we get together either virtually or in person, and we have our tech summit, which is a lot of fun things that we do, but it's also the planning for that year's training season. And we've already begun the planning, actually. And in the month of, our tech summit, first of all, is the correct me if I'm wrong now, 14th of August, right? 14th of August. So you want to mark your calendars for that, but there'll be a blog post on it. We'll talk about the blog in a minute. And at that tech summit, we officially announce what our course offerings are for that coming season, and we'll let you know how to register. Generally, what happens is there'll be a form on our website to fill out, but it may take a different shape this year. Whatever it is, we will keep you in the loop as to how to register and when the classes are going to be. Now, typically, the classes have been Mondays and Wednesdays from 3 p.m. Eastern or 2 Central to 5 p.m. Eastern or 4 Central. So that'd be noon to 1 p.m. Pacific. And that's been the case for the past couple of seasons now, I think, Mondays and Wednesdays. And then we have help sessions, at other times to be announced. So basically, we use a very similar platform to Zoom. We use WebEx. There's a free app for that. You can join by app, by telephone, by computer, web browser. There's a whole bunch of different ways to join, and we give you all that information. And then we let you know when the classes are, and you get the link to join, and you come on in and you listen to the classes. You chat your questions in if you have those questions. And then people ask, well, what if I can't attend live? Well, that's okay, because we make the information from the classes available in a number of different ways. This past season, we used a combination of things. We used Google Classroom, which is one of the most well-known learning systems that schools and teachers and parents and students are using. We use that to provide a number of documents and other resources, including the live recordings. We also began, and Cliff really did all the work here, posting all of the live recordings on YouTube. So you didn't even have to have Google Classroom. You didn't have to register for anything. You didn't have to do anything except just open up your YouTube app and find it, or subscribe to Cliff's YouTube channel. He even had a playlist of all of the different things that we offered. All the recordings were right there on YouTube. So even if you could not attend live, that was okay. Again, this past year, we offered a course in voiceover called Learning Voiceover In and Out, which was from the ground up, all kinds of the basics to the more advanced. We offered our iPad for All computing course. And then we offered a lot of these mini courses, as I mentioned, on different subjects. We will announce what we're going to be offering after the Tech Summit, or really at the Tech Summit in August. So here's what we need you all to do if you're interested in this. And this is the big thing. Again, we will send an email to Bob so he can include this in the show notes. And then after this, we'll take your questions here, okay? But what we want you to do is we want you to subscribe to our blog, because that blog has everything you'll need. So it's a full-fledged website, including, you can look at our purchased options, our, paid training and all kinds of things. And actually, I'm doing some redesign work on that right now. And Cliff is in the process of doing some overhauls to his website too. So, there'll be some things changing, but basically all the information is there. But the blog is the central focus that we want you to be aware of. If you visit the website, and I'll give you both Cliff's and mine. So TTJ, because that's what we're talking about, that is ttjtech.net. So that's Tango, Juliet, and then the word tech, TECH.net. Now, again, if you're not taking notes, don't worry. We'll get that in the show notes afterwards. And Cliff's website is stiritup.com, but stir is spelled with a U. So it's STURITUP.com. Now, both of these websites have blogs, and both blogs will include our training offerings and all the details on that. Okay. We also use the blogs for other, promotions and different things, tech tips and all sorts of stuff. But one of the big things we do is we put the training information there. So you want to subscribe. Now, the way to do this is to visit that website from whatever your favorite device is. Okay. If you happen to be visiting from an iPhone, a mobile device, you will not see the area to subscribe right away, because it's hidden for, screen real estate purposes. So what you got to do is you got to click on or tap on the option that says menu and widgets. And I think there's even a voiceover hint there that says double tap to expand the menu or something like that. If you double tap to expand the menu, you're going to get all the primary navigation links on our site: home, contact us, training, all this different stuff, including a link to the blog. Don't click on it. Okay. Do not actually go to the blog right then and there. Instead, go past all those primary links. There's 10 or 12 of them. And they may be changing, as I said, in the not too distant future, but whatever. Right after those links, there is a section that says subscribe to blog by email. Is that the verbiage there, Rita?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And they go there, they enter there's an edit field, and they enter their email address. You enter your email address to subscribe. At that point in time, there's a submit button, submit. Yeah. And then they're going to send you an automated verification email to make sure that you really are a human and, not a bot or something. And so you'll just have to follow the instructions in that email, click a link to verify your email address, and then you're subscribed. And so now, every time we have a help session, when we announce our training and put up a form to register, whatever we do, you will get an email about it. As soon as it's posted, it's going to come to your inbox. You'll get a little snippet in your email, and then you can click on the link to see the full post so you know what you've got to do. And Rita, do you want to add anything, or anybody else on the team, before we go to questions? Do you want to add anything about that stuff?
No, but like I said, all roads lead to that blog. So go to ttjtech.net, subscribe to follow the blog by email, submit your name and your email, hit submit. you'll get an email, reply to the email, and you're in. And so that's where everything's going to funnel through. So then you'll be able to sign up for classes that we're offering.
Exactly. Exactly.
And we've got several raised hands.
We've
going
got
on
several
here.
raised hands already. So, yep. Yeah, so let's take some questions. Do we want
Can I speak?
Yeah,
I
are you
can't hear
okay? You're
anybody.
going to call on. Excellent.
There,
Excellent.
there you are, Farhad. Go ahead.
What happened?
Go ahead.
Hello?
So we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, can I ask? I'm Farhang.
Go ahead.
Okay, my question is regarding your blog. Do you have an app for your blog?
No, it's a website.
It's a website. Okay.
So just open your web browser, type in ttjtech.net, and there's where you'll find follow the blog by email.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Does somebody want to sort of call on those people that have the raised hands? Or I guess we could do that as co-hosts too, right, Rita?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bob, are you?
I can do it. Donna, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Okay, we appreciate that. Thanks, Bob. Thanks. Probably just make it a little more seamless there.
Bob, is that
Donna.
Donna Kimball?
Hi,
yes,
Donna.
go ahead, Donna.
Yes, I just
Hi.
wanted to say hi there, you guys. I just wanted to say I have taken so many of these courses and just encourage everyone as to the validity of the scope of everything that we learn, the curriculum. It's made such a difference in my life. Things that I thought I was never going to do again, and losing a significant amount of my eyesight. Just recently, one of the things I've rediscovered and am jumping up and down for joy is doing videos. Like Matt and the others were saying, I still have a bit of eyesight. So with my iPhone, I can take pictures and videos. I can no longer use the cameras. I used to use cameras all the time. I've not been able to use those for quite a few years. I've rediscovered the joy of taking videos, and a discovery I made about the wonderful Apple products that are being promoted is with my iPhone. I have the 11, and I took the video from a car window as a passenger on a bumpy road, thinking I was going to have to purchase a stabilizer, which I have no idea how they work or how to use them. The video was perfect. It obviously has some sort of stabilizing in it because there was no evidence at all that I was taking the video from a car on a rough road. And that's just one of the things I've learned through these wonderful classes that they offer. And I just encourage everyone. It's a chance to to do things that I haven't been able to do for so long. I always loved audio recording and video recording, and for the last 10 years plus have thought those were things that were no longer in my life, on top of learning to write stories, learning about pages and notes. So that's all I'm going to say. I just thank the team so much for all that they give, and encourage everyone that's thinking about whether or not to jump on board to do it, because it certainly has added so much to my life.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you. Absolutely. We appreciate it.
Okay, we have two more people with their hands up. First, we have Beverly, and then Holly will be next. So go ahead, Beverly.
Hi, everybody.
Zoom has new window.
I think your what do I want to say? Your cheerleading group is out here to cheer you guys on. Because it is true that I do have one question, but I also wanted to jump in and just say that anybody that would ever decide to join any of your classes, and I would suggest you join all the classes, you will never be disappointed, because, and I just keep coming back every year for all the classes, because you know, I'm older, I'm blind, and my head just can't hold all that stuff. And so, you know, it's wonderful, all the hours that these people give, that you people give to all of us, and appreciation a million times over for all that you do, and out of the kindness of your heart.
Oh.
My one question to you, Matt, is what's the name of the recipe app that you use that's accessible for you?
Oh, the name. Well, first of all, we appreciate your kind words and all your comments. The name of the recipe app is Paprika, Paprika. Paprika Recipe Manager 3 is the version that they're on, and it actually says that in the title of the app in the App Store. And it is very accessible. There is a cost to that one. It's not a free app. But it's a one-time purchase. It's not you don't have to pay to subscribe or anything. And if you have any trouble, you could always iMessage me and I can send you a link to download it too.
Thank you so very much. And God bless all three of you for coming and joining
You
us
too.
today.
You too.
Thank you, Beverly. Holly, you're next. Do you have a question or comment? Holly, you are muted. You'll need to unmute yourself, Holly.
Here I am. Hi, folks. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Yes, hi.
Hi. Well, I want to say ditto to what Donna and Bevy shared. I'm the third leg of the stool in this cheerleading group. We're all associated with the Vista Center in Santa Cruz. And I got my start with them. When I got my first iPhone a handful of years ago, they were so wonderful helping me get going and move from being able to see very large print and use a CCTV to realizing as my vision shifted, I needed to move over to a speech system. And I'm so thankful that I went the direction of Apple instead of the other direction. And again, Vista counseled me on that, another branch. So yay, Vista, for being there for us.
Yay.
And yay. And then we stumbled, by God's grace, across TTJ. And I met you, Matt, and team in January of 2019. And it has been one of the most incredible times of my life. I came to you like a sponge. I still feel that way. But as I take in more and learn more on a daily basis, I feel more comfortable and confident to share parts of that with others and encourage others. And I think we all feel that way. And that's part of your goal, I'm sure, is to keep that ripple effect going. I'm certainly not a teacher, but I can show somebody the basics. And just some of the things I have learned this semester, is, boy, I've really embraced the iPad. So you also got me I got an iPad and I find myself picking it up just as much, if not more, than my phone. And you said that would happen. and gosh, for organization, I've developed this whole system in Notes with all of these folders, and it's all alphabetical. So as I come across things I want to keep or make a dictated note, there it is. And then I can find it with a search. It's like when I was sighted and there were file folders and there was, the file drawers. It's just digital and it's accessible to me, and all through VoiceOver, all by listening. And I would just add that because of an injury, I needed to get off a keyboard. So I've learned, and with your help, to do all of this by dictation using something called the rotor, like you said, that magical tool that is just for us VoiceOver users. And you've taught me to do advanced editing. When I first met you, my first question was, will you teach me how to delete more than one letter backwards at a time, please? Now I can delete whole pages, paragraphs, words. It's incredible. And then lastly, the relationships. These dear people who are presenting today are some of the kindest, most giving people I've ever met. I have been in every class for 2.5 years, except for the MAC. most of the help sessions, and they're just incredible what they give from their hearts. And I just would encourage, come join us. It's life changing. So thank you, and thank you for being here.
You know, these are the things that really we love to hear and really make us smile. And Holly, we love you, first of all, and we really appreciate the kind words, but getting to know people like Holly and Donna and Bevy and so forth, and the people that God's brought into our lives, it's just such a blessing, not only to get to know them, but also to see how far our students have come, because it is incredible. And it's a joy and a blessing to watch how a student can go from something like, I want to know how to delete more than one letter, to doing these really,
Not to cut
really.
you off, Matt, but I just realized something, that everybody but me and you was actually a student first. Rita, Lynn, Stephanie, and Sarah, who's here today. So, I mean, we found the rest of our team from the students' initiative and knowing, or them coming into help sessions and asking questions and giving us their knowledge of what they knew, what we didn't know, and now we know what we don't know, and that's why they're on the team now. So I mean, that's kind of comes to full circle.
Well, that's exactly right, and that's exactly the next thing that I was going to get to is that this team that God has brought together with Cliff, Rita, Sarah, Stephanie, Lynn, we it is truly no exaggeration to say that God has put this team together. We don't go actively looking for people to be part of the team, but it's incredible. We are like one big, happy, dysfunctional family. We fight like brother and sister half the time. No, no, but it is truly a blessing to know and work with these folks and to see their dedication to it as well.
Okay, we have 3 more hands raised with questions. So Bev Clifford is up next, followed by Donna, and then followed by Farhan. So go ahead, Bev.
Okay. I have a friend who lives in Michigan. She has an iPhone. She knows very little about how to use it, and there's no training around where she is. But she's not a technical person at all. And I'm trying to figure out, by listening to what you say, how I could get her into these classes. She's really not a very technical person. She just wants to learn how to use the iPhone. And I would need to be able to tell her the absolutely easiest way for the most non-technical person to get into one of your voiceover classes, so that she needs basic training on her iPhone.
So does she have any other devices that she is more comfortable with, whether it be computer or otherwise, right now?
Well, I think the landline phone. Right now, she's sort of between assistive listening devices. So right at the moment, she can't use anything other than her iPhone or a landline.
So there'd be a couple of things that come to my mind, and guys, jump in if there's anything I'm missing here or anything else. But what would come to my mind is first of all, if when it gets to the point that she is attempting to join the classes, there is a join phone number that a person can use from a landline. It's not normally something we really advertise that highly, because audio quality from that method of joining is not.
I'd cut out the middle right there. What I would do is just send her the recording after the class was completed. That way she doesn't have to worry about trying to get into the class. She can just listen to it, pause it, listen to it, try it, pause
that
it.
May be, yeah,
as
that
Rita
may
always
be a way to
preaches.
go.
Okay, so how do I start this? Because I need to be the person who tells her exactly what to do and who to contact.
Well, you would have to probably contact me or Matt. We would get your contact information. And
great.
Once the class starts and we start doing the recordings, it'll probably be me because Matt's slow. I would email you. I would email you the recording, and you can send it to her, and then that way she can, stay at pace of the class. So whenever a recording was done, I would send it to you.
Oh,
And then you can send it to her.
Oh, wow, that would be absolutely. So how do I give you my contact information? Should I wait until the class is over and then how?
He'll give it to me and I'll pass it on to you.
Oh, this would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I think
we'll,
that-
ta-
I
we'll
think
take
that's-
care of you.
that's-
Don't worry.
Yeah,
Because when
yeah.
I hear stories like that, I'm trying to go to the person's house and teach them. So, but since I can't do that, I'll definitely make sure Bob has my info so you can stay in contact with me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. It's been so, there's just nowhere that she can go. I mean, I live in a place where I have friends who use these devices. I have resources. She does not. So
we'll take care of her.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bev.
Okay.
Let's see. Donna, you have a question. Go ahead. Donna Sanchez.
Yes, my question is, I don't like to get on like blogs and Facebooks and all that stuff because I get too much stuff that you have forever and ever and you can't get rid of it. So, so if I sign into the blog, will I get it forever and ever? And, you know, you have to sign up to go onto the blog? To get the
Yes.
information.
Yes, you will get regular, I mean, you won't get buried in emails, but you'll get, that is how you find out about what TTJ is doing with their classes and, you know, offerings. You know, you need to sign up and you'll get an email. Probably, oh gosh, how many emails go out a week?
Probably
3 or 4?
maybe 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm there are some times when there's more than others because of promotions and stuff,
but it's
yeah,
nowhere near as much as Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. The advertisement. We're not trying to sell you anything. We're just letting you know when there's a help session, when there's a class, if there's a change.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Farhan, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Bob. I want to thank all the volunteers for doing such a great job. I'm really impressed. And I was thinking to myself that if I become an expert in voiceover, I would also like to join the volunteer group to teach others free of charge. It would be a blessing for me. And so I want to thank all of you to be spending so much time on giving free training to all of us. And I'm sure after this session that you'll have at least 50 more students joining your class.
Well,
and I also want to request one thing, Bob and Cliff, if you can send me the recording which you are going to send to the lady in Michigan, if you don't mind.
Well, it won't be until next training season because that's when the new recordings will be available. So Bob will take care of you.
Okay. And I would like to join your blog and your training sessions. I would like to get more information about it. If you don't mind, you can pass it on to Bob.
Oh yeah, Bob's gonna get all that and put it in the show notes for us.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Cliff and Rita and everybody.
Thank you very much.
So much.
Thank you, Farhan.
You all are wonderful people.
Thank you. We've got 2 more people with their hands up here. First will be David Vick, followed by Perla. David, go ahead.
Hi, this is Sherry Vick. David is here with me. I have a question. I didn't hear all of it. We had a phone call that came in the middle, but some of the things that you said were very compelling. And David is a very technical person, but he can't understand a lot of times when people speak quickly or fast, or if there's 2 people talking at once. And so and because of his hearing deficit, it would be helpful if he could have one-on-one training. So I'm wondering about if that is possible at all. And some of your other, and I wanted to say one more thing. One of the problems that we've had, significant problem, is that the training that he has received in some of those places has been very poor.
Yes.
They don't address what
Yeah.
he needs
Right.
at
Yeah.
all.
So there's a couple of things that occur to
I think we're
me.
looking at another person to get a recording, because if we do one-on-one, that's going to have to be paid.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We do offer one-on-one training, and there is a cost to that. If you want to get in touch with either Cliff or me or both of us, typically when you get one of us, you get the other anyway, because we kind of consult with each other. So whoever you choose there, you'll give a nice ego boost to. No, but when we do one-on-one training, we can really customize it to what you need, give you pricing, and so that we'd be happy to talk with you about that if that's something that you or he want to do. In the interim, if you get the recordings, if you get the recordings that Cliff was talking about a few minutes ago, what he does is typically edits the vast majority of those to the point that they are very, very clean recordings, and all the extra stuff is taken out of them. And that may be sufficient if you're looking for a free solution. That may be sufficient in the sense that, if we did have cases of people speaking over each other or other kinds of things, that would, often be eliminated from the recordings. So it may be good enough for you if you're doing.
He has missed quite a lot of what you did say that is really pertains to him, because you talk a little fast and he's not quite on it. But
what you could do,
and it's applicable.
Great. What you could do is get the recording from this class that we did today, and you can stop and start the recording. And that's the same thing with the classes. Once you have the recording, like Matt will say, okay, let's create a brand new text message today. So he'll say, okay, first you locate your messages app, and here's how you can do that. Okay. And then what you can do is stop the recording and then practice that thing. Okay. And then start the recording again, and then practice. And then so back and forth and back and forth. That's the beauty of these recordings, that we're teaching all these skills. And so
I
you
did
can
get that. I did get that.
Yeah.
David, do you have anything to add? Okay. Thank you very much.
So that would be my, suggestion too. And then, if you do want to look at one-on-one training, I don't know what your, what your budget is, but that's something we could talk about privately and, do our best to work with you there as well.
How do we contact?
Okay. He's asking about contact, but I know, I think I've got some things down.
And I'll provide it to you in the show notes.
Okay, thank you.
And it's in the recording here. We're running a little bit long on time, so I'm going to go to two people asking questions who have not asked questions before. So I'm going to skip a couple of you here. So first would be Perla. You have a question or comment? Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello. Oh, great. Hey guys. I just want to say, I want to encourage people to do the course. I've been working with this since the 3GS, but I had a lot more vision at that time. And I was just totally, literally stressed and anxious about learning voiceover. And but I do want to say that the more you practice, this is not about just listening to instructions, but actually practicing all of the things as you go along, I think will keep people from getting overwhelmed. And then I wanted to assure Donna that no, they don't send a lot of messages, but don't sign up for iDevices or any of those other groups unless you want a lot of messages. So, because they do send a lot of messages every day, all day long and all night. So anyway, thanks a lot, guys. I'll be
Trust
in
me, I
touch.
know. I have to run 3 of them. So
Yeah, we moderate some of them.
Thank you, Perla. And last up, we have Stacy. Go ahead, Stacy.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
So I wondered, Cliff, what is your YouTube channel?
Same as my blog. It's Stir. If you search for Stir It Up, I'm guarantee you. But it's Stir is spelled with the U, so it's STURITUP. You find that it's gonna have an iOS playlist. It's gonna have a Mac playlist, and then me and Matt both have podcasts. I even have podcast recordings up there, so it's full of a lot of great content.
Great. Thank you guys so much for being here with us today. I am the tech manager for Santa Cruz location, and this has been an awesome presentation and all of your guys' hard work. This is great. And I'll direct people to your YouTube channel. I'm going to go check it out in a little while too.
I appreciate that. Thanks for the support.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks.
We appreciate it.
Bob, only one very short question, Bob. Can I ask?
Real short. Go ahead, Farhan.
Very short. Can you also provide a free training on JAWS?
We are Apple only.
Right.
Oh,
right.
okay. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Matt and Rita and Cliff, on behalf of Vista.
Can I ask one thing really, really quick? Where do you find these show notes that you're talking about?
Those are on the Vista Center, the Tech It Out with Vista webpage where the video is posted. All of that is contained in the descriptions there.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So Matt, Rita, Cliff, on behalf of Vista, I want to thank all three of you. And I know Sarah was in the background back there. She was quiet. But anyways, I want to thank all of you for taking your time to join us today on Tech It Out with Vista. We all learned a great deal, and we really appreciate you taking your time and doing all the volunteering work that you do. And so,
well, again, we
very,
thank
very
you
much
for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bob, for getting them online. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bob.
you.
Goodbye,
everybody. We'll see you
Take care.
We'll either see you at the picnic on July 10th, or we will join all back here on August the 6th.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. What a wonderful session.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Cliff, Rita, Matt, everybody.